Hey everyone, let's get a couple of minutes just to set up everything, position my microphone so it's just pointing at my face. Apparently that's the best. We got a lot to cover today. Feel free to still ask questions. If questions start coming in, then I'll get more quickly through all of the stuff that I want to show you today. But if no one has any questions, then I'll talk more in depth about all of the new stuff. We have 8 new features. To be honest, I could do with 2 hours. Maybe we'll make it a little bit longer today. Let me just see if this is actually working. Okay, apparently it is working. Yeah, that seems to be working. Okay, great. So let's get started. And I know a number of people aren't going to be watching this live, but that's okay. So it's been a while since we had the last office hours, and I didn't think it was too important because there was a period which I mainly worked on some client projects. We've got some really nice projects, some really interesting stuff. But then I forgot that we had actually developed a bunch of new features, and so I'm now here with office hours. I think it's been like 3 hours, 3 weeks since the last one. And so I got a lot to cover now. So what am I going to cover today? Real-time collaboration. We've got the first version of that. The first version of that is the Kanban board that has now sort of gotten real-time features. I'm not really sure what we're going to do as the next thing. Hey, Mike, good to see you. But this is kind of up to people as well. If you need real-time collaboration in some view, and if you want to make a case for some particular reason why this is needed, or a particular way in which we need real-time collaboration, then just open an issue on GitHub or send me an email. But I will show it for Kanban, which seems like an obvious way to do it. Then we've got this new feature called template view generation. That's going to help you a lot if you're building a lot of Saltcorn apps, and if you want sort of a house style and you want to very quickly build new views. Then we've got some more flexibility in the login system. So you can now log in from an edit view, and so that just gives you the ability to embed the login form within some screen, or even from a drop-down menu or something like that. We can now respond to login triggers. I'm not sure I'll really show that today if I have time to build a trigger. We now have backups to S3. I'm not going to show that because I'll show you where the options are, but I don't have I don't have an S3 bucket. But I'll show you how to set that up if you want it. Then yesterday I didn't feel very well, so I decided I should just start working on some really hard problems, and that way I'll forget about not feeling very well. It's like super hot here. It's like 30 degrees, which is hot for England. 32 even, and just sleeping badly at night. So I just decided to, instead of sit around and be miserable all day, I'm just gonna code, and that way I'll forget about everything. So I did 2 big features. We can now have containers in lists and multiple elements in list columns. That's kind of nifty, so we can build some nice views you can build with that. And also just meaning that less often you need to sort of embed a show view inside a list view. That's in some cases that's no longer necessary. And then we did aggregation formulas. That is it's kind of nice, avoiding sometimes needing to create stored aggregated fields, and just if you need an aggregation in a button label, then there's now a formula for doing that. And then finally, the big one. So this is what I've been working on for the last 1.5 weeks. I sat down one morning and just sketched out a design for it, and then I built it, and it's working. It's almost there. The core functionality is there, and most of the features. So that is agents. So this is sort of the next evolution in terms of how we're using AI and the tools you can build with AI. and it works really well, and it's a lot of fun, and I'm going to show you how to do it. You know, a lot of stuff you can do that is just one more level of flexibility up from what we had before, which was the user copilot. Okay, let's start with the real-time collaboration. So I have a server running here. I'm just going to use my local server. Okay, and let's see here. So we have these Kanban views, right? Okay, this is my table of books. This is my usual test table. It's just got a bunch of books with the author, and this is the Kanban table, Kanban view. It's been set up on that table, and you do that by, you know, you have hopefully some of you have tried this before. So you set up an underlying view. So this show short, that's the view that's, you know, rendering whatever's in the card in the Kanban board, and then you have various options, right? But you have a new option here, real-time updates. So this gives you real-time collaboration, and I will show you what I mean by that. So let's see if this works. It does work. So in order to show that well, I'm going to need two browsers. So let's get rid of me. And so I set this up, so I'm now sharing my whole screen. And I'm going to open up two browsers. Here's the second one, and I'm going to open up the same thing. Okay, so now we can just let the fun begin. So basically the idea is, if I drag in one view, it will show instantaneously in the other view. See, it moved. But it didn't move to the wrong place. So I guess the order needs some working on. Let's try that again. No, that seems to work. Yeah, anyways, kind of fun. You can just sit here and drag. And apparently also, if I create a new book, so I mean, just spell it out. So the idea is I move a card up here, and down here, you know, it updates automatically. So apparently also what works is insert. So I didn't do any of this work. Christian has been doing all of this work. So let's try this, my new book. So the question is it going to pop up down here? And my new book, I have to set the pages, otherwise it's not a valid, otherwise it's not a, you know, that's a required field. So we'll do 678 pages. Oh no. Okay, well, it appeared there. So there you go. I got directed to a weird place, but that's okay. That's a question of just configuring that edit view, and I think we even have a. Can we make it create a label to create? Yeah, I think if we do pop up here, that might solve that problem. Let's try again. I'll get a pop up, and oh, I forgot this is the author, not the title. So the author will be Tom. And I don't know what this field is, but I appear to need to pick that. Hi, Jose. And 1, 2, 3. Oh. Okay. I don't know what this. I don't actually know what this field is. Should we fix it? I can't be bothered. You saw it happen as I move cards here. That's the main point. As I insert and as I delete as well cards, they disappear. And this is the case for all users that are logged in, right? So everyone who's logged into this view will see the same thing, right? So they will see the updates that one person makes on another. So now the question is, where else do we want to do this? Something that we've talked about is a rich text editor. So when you're editing in tiny MCE in a field, then we'd love to see that sort of reflected on in another form, so two people can edit the same document. It's a little bit more risk for conflict there, so we need to just sort out what we're doing there and do that well. Here with the Kanban, it's not so much, you're unlikely to move the same card twice, and if you do, there's only so much conflict resolution you can do. Right, that card's got to end up somewhere. But the idea with a document is if two people are editing, the same document but in two different places, I'm typing something at the top and somebody else is typing something at the bottom, then you want you want all of those edits to be included. Okay, that is my demonstration of real-time collaboration. It's done with WebSockets, and so it's fairly efficient. And you need to, just to remind you again, you need to enter this box here, and if you're running a high volume site, then you got to think about whether you really want this, right? So it does open another connection to your database server. So you have to if you have a lot of people looking at some view, the nature of Kanban is that there are probably not so many people looking at it at once. But it does, even if this will be opened even if there's just one viewer. So we don't have any way of saying, okay, if there's only one person looking at it, then there's no need for real-time collaboration. It's very difficult. So there is a resource drag on the server, and there's extra communication as well. So you have to decide whether you want this, right? And that's the way it's going to be for all views. This will be opt-in, probably disabled by default on all views, just because this is something that you have to think about whether you want this. And if you have many users, then who knows? I don't know. I haven't tested the scaling and how that responds in scaling, but it may. There will be a certain penalty. So what exactly that is, we have to test that. Okay, let's move on. But that is cool. That is one of the major features that we wanted in 1.4. In fact, all of those features that I talked about for 1.4 are progressing quite nicely. We're done, I think, with the hardest ones, and the ones that are left are a little bit easier. So that's going well, and then as you'll see, there's some new features that wasn't in that list of what we wanted in 1.4, but that has come up. One of those is template view generation. So let's say you are creating a new table, right? Let's create a new table. Actually, let's not create a new table because I have so many tables on this. Let's just delete all the. Let's delete all of the views that I have on this table. Here you see that the page reload is really bad. We need to do something about this. So let's just use this table, right? So we've had this ability here, create basic views for a while. It helps a lot if you're building just a lot of different tables. It was just the ability to just quickly create views was really helpful. I remember I went to a hackathon at some point. I wanted to show how cool Saltcorn was, and I spent half my time building was just creating very basic views of each table that sort of do the right links. And if you have a list view, then you want to set the edit, create a new, and you have an edit view, then you want to tie those together. So that just took a lot of time. So then we added this create basic views. And then the problem is that people said, well, they're not quite in the style, right? I have a specific style that I always build views in this way. And I'd like those automatically, because then I can just create new views, bam, 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 right? And the other thing here is that the basic view creation facility was very basic. So it just had the standard field views, and that was painful in terms of, especially in terms of dates, because the standard field views for dates are not very nice. The flat picker ones are much nicer, and you should almost always switch to those. And maybe one day we will actually do something about putting them up internally. But we got so you if you created those basic views, you'd have to switch all of them to the flat picker. So now, the idea is now you can create a template, and those settings from the field views will be copied over. Okay, the way that works is now this, when you create basic views, that gives you a pop-up, and you get more flexibility. First of all, you can set a view naming convention. I made it unnecessarily complicated here, but you can just do stuff like this if you want to create some sort of view name. You can also select more, and now it's sort of a more modular. So view patterns can declare how they will create basic views, but also now we have this template option. So the template table, you select a table that this is based on, and it will go to that table, find the views on that table, and it will try to mimic that style and those field view settings. There is a little help icon here that I wrote that hopefully tells you a little bit about how it works. You basically, let's go to that template table and see what that has. So the idea is that you create on this field, on this table, you create a field of each type that you're likely to use. So if you want to copy the properties of date fields, then you make a date field, right? And then you create one of each of these clonable views, and the only ones that are clonable right now are edit, list, show, and tabulator. I think those are the main ones that people use when they mass produce, a fixed number of views. We might do filter. I think filter would be nice, and a filter that sort of embeds the list. But this is what we have right now. And so there are different rules, right? For list, it will basically go to the column that has a field of the type that you want to clone, and then it will take the field view settings from that. That was relatively easy. Show and edit were much more complicated. It was actually really difficult to write. So this is just because I've been testing, but the idea is there's some stuff on the outside, which is sort of like a big container, and that might be a card. It might be a couple of nested elements, so that it could be a card with a container inside. So it's basically a container that has everything inside it. And then inside of that, there's something that has all of the fields, but still, that might be a column here where, the field is only nested inside that. So I had to do something where I sort of thought a little bit about, okay, how can we find the innermost container that has more than one field? And anything outside that innermost container, we clone, and we put everything inside that. And then in that innermost container, in this case, this would be, right? So I've just moved it about because I was testing different things and making sure it worked with everything. But this is more like the canonical case, right? And so this innermost container is my card. I don't think I have I don't have a container. You could also have a container inside the card, or you could just have a container. And then here they have columns, but they could also be containers. If you don't want this column style, I know a lot of people don't like this column style. It's kind of like what I did for the default, but you could also have sort of, if you want more of a horizontal style, right? You might have something like this. So I don't know what happens when this is mixed. Let's see what happens when this is mixed. Okay, so, here, this is eccentric as a template because I have one container and some of them are in columns. But anyways, these are the ones that are going to be used. And let's see what happens. So now I've selected that as the template table, and I am now creating my views. And here are my views. Yeah, so you see, what was the one that I had? It was the age. So some of them as you expect. Some of them are sort of in this format, and some of them are in that, depending on which field it matched. And I think if it has I think this attributes is a JSON, and that probably doesn't have a corresponding, so I think it takes the first one. But this is the kind of, so you see how it cloned the outer, the sort of wrapping, and then the innermost ones, it found the matching ones. Okay, so that's pretty much all there is to say about that. But so that really helps if you've just got a lot of views, right? If you've got a lot of tables and you need to create essentially some CRUD UI, now that is just one button. Well, it was one button before, but now you can have that in a house style. And what you can do, I wrote about this in the help, which I can't get now. I have to delete all these again to get the help. But what you can do is you can put a tag on each of these. I guess we need to create a new tag. Template, right? So now you can put a tag on each of these. Where were we? Here. Again, it's a little bit annoying here that it jumps. This is one of the big limitations, and I need to do something about it. So anyways, you can put a tag on these views, put a tag on this table, this template, all of this template table and template views. Download the pack, and then every time you go to a new application, you upload that pack, and then you have your template. And then for all of your new views, you can just start, click one button, and then you get a bunch of views in your house style, so to speak. Okay, so look, please explore. And again, if you want template view generation for anything else than list, edit, show, and tabulator, then let me know what works for you, what you need. Okay. Let's move on. So I'm going to talk about custom login forms and the ability. Oh wait, there was a question. Let me see what the question says. The real-time collaboration is a feature to be used by the user of the application and not by programmers creating in Saltcorn, right? Yes, that is correct. And actually, I did actually think about this, because if you've used Saltcorn a lot, you probably have been in the situation where you're either working with someone else or you have this open in two different tabs. And sorry. And you do something here, right? But now in your other tab it doesn't show up. And then here you do something else. And now I put an extra line break here. But now that's gone, because the last write wins. So if we had real-time collaboration inside the builder, that would work. And we could do that, but that is not what's currently on offer here. This is for users, not for people building in this one. So always I try to prioritize the users and their experience and what we can do for them. But I do think it would be nice to have real-time collaboration in the builder. More questions. Oh no, it's okay. Don't worry about it. That was not a question. Don't worry. Please ask questions. That's what we're here for. Okay. What was I going to show now? Okay, look. Sorry, I still have a bit of a cough. Login flexibility. Okay, so we have had for a while. Let's go through the table. Let's go to the users table. We've had for a while the ability to customize the login prompt. I mean, my login prompt here is here. And, I write, so you can see that here, right? I write custom login double exclamation mark. And so now if I log out, you saw this before, that's what I get, right? This is my custom login form. And that's very nice, right? You need that. We need that. But that always previously had to run from this URL. So if you wanted to log in, you always had to go or be directed to, and then it had to load this page, this auth slash login. Okay, so that was the only way you could log in until now. So now that, okay, so let's just talk about how that is built. So I'm not, maybe some people haven't seen this. So the way it works is when you are in an edit view on a users table, you get some extra stuff. You get some extra fields and you get some extra actions that you use if to build login views, right? So email is always a field on users, and that's normal, but password is not. There's no password field, and yet I have the password field here because we haven't exposed the password here. It's not a terribly big security. You can get it if you run scripts. Maybe we should, I don't know, but it's a hashed password. I don't know, I just don't really want to draw too much attention to the password. The role here we did expose at some point. Maybe we should do it. But then even then there's others. There's like attributes. Anyways, so you have extra fields. And these also have like, we used to have like this. Oh, the repeat. We used to have a repeat. I can't remember how you do. Password repeat is you have to choose that as a field. And you also have this remember me. I don't know if anyone uses that. It's like this thing where you can control how long the cookie is set for. And then you have, these are actions, right? So these are special actions that appear here at the bottom of login, of user edit forms. So they're login, sign up, and then each of your identity providers that have been configured through modules. But if you ran this as a normal view, previously these buttons didn't work. They only worked if you ran this view from auth login. But that is no longer the case. It now works. So there you go. Now I've just logged in. So if I go here and I log out, of course I get to the login form, but I can also go to this view and I can log in. Okay, so you might say, what's the point? Well, let's try and have some fun. Let's go to it. I don't have a public page. Okay, we're going to create a page for the public and we're going to set that. And so now, you know, sometimes you want, do I have a drop? Oh, I have a drop menu. Let's see if this works. Okay, this is experimental. I didn't actually try this. So let's try and drop this into a menu, what was called login view. And we're going to call this. Okay. Okay, that sort of works. And now let's set that as the home page for public. Oh shoot, which one did it? That's what happens when you have an ultra short memory. Public home, not public page. Okay. And now let's log out and just go to the site. So you can imagine that there's a bunch of other stuff here. And so now you can log in like that. I mean, look, maybe you want that. Somebody wanted it. And I think, you know, I do think it gives you a flexibility. We're also going to have something where we're going to have a lot more work on the menu. And so maybe we'll be able to do just a login as a drop down, as a form here. So it comes up here. We'll try that. Hope it works. Or something like it. So just gives you a little bit more flexibility. And you could also, you know, you didn't have to have that in a drop down, right? You could have that in a little, you can have it in an accordion, could have it just exposed on a page, whatever you want. Okay, so the other thing that's happened is somebody asked for it and I ignored it for a bit, and then it turned out, actually I thought this is really cool and we need it, is the ability to create events. Now I haven't tested this, apparently this code works, but I should say that I haven't done this again. These two login functionality has been done by Gerard, and so I tested the login before this, but I haven't tested this, but let's see. So what if I want the user to go somewhere special when they log in, right? So let's just do a simple version of that. So when I log in, redirect, and I'm going to go to navigate is the one. No, navigate. There we go. I'm gonna navigate. I'm gonna go to a URL. Where am I gonna go? I'm gonna go to this one. Is this a good one to go to? Yeah, that's a good one to go to. Okay, so let's try that. Right. Hey, it works, right? So here I set up a trigger. That trigger made a response, made a direction, and it went to here. Now you might say, why are you doing this, right? Well, you know, this can be a lot more flexible. Where was it? This could be maybe it could be code, right? And this, you can do the same, right? This is go to, maybe not everyone knows this, but you can do this. Great, so now, right, this will be the same, but I can do stuff before that, right? I can fetch something from rows. I can make it specific to the user. I can send, you know, if the user dot needs book filter, right? So I can do stuff like this, right? If the user needs to go somewhere special, then because of a field on the user table, I can do that, right? And the same thing apparently works for sign up. So this is even more flexible, right? So now you have I think there's a sign up event. Just to set it to code. No, maybe, actually I'm not sure this is really working. I'm maybe making this up. Maybe I'll test it. I wanted this to work, but maybe it's insert on users, and I can't remember now if we actually did this. But if we haven't done it, then it will. I will do it, because I think this is even more important. And wait, so there is no sign up event. There's user verified, but there's no sign up. But then there's insert on users, right? So that's what happens when you sign up. So I'm not going to try it now because I don't know if this works, but that will give you a lot of flexibility, right? So when you sign up, you can set a trigger that redirects you to another page or into some form or something like this, some onboarding form. We do have some flexibility. Oh, by the way, I should say, I forgot to say this. I wanted to say it that previously, the way you set that custom login view is by selecting it on this page, right? So if you haven't done this before, to select the custom login view, you pick views here, and this is where you set the sign up view, and you have some verification views and new users view. So you can to some extent do some sort of custom onboarding flow through these just by selecting an edit form here, but having it on a trigger gives you much more flexibility, right? Now you can do one flow on the weekend and another flow during the week, right? Maybe that's what you want, maybe not. I don't know what you guys are doing. Okay, all done with login. one more thing that I didn't do, Gerard did it again, and I can't show you because I don't have an S3 account, but you can now set, if you do these automated backups. Oh, by the way, I think this isn't, if you're on saltcorn.com, that you can't do automated backups just because you can't. But you can now set this to S3. So this is if you're running a self-hosted instance. I disabled it on saltcorn.com because I didn't want people to fill up my hard drive with backups. But you can now set, this probably shouldn't, this is fine actually. So you can now set an endpoint for S3, and you can, you fill in your bucket. I don't know anything about this. I'm a total cloud Luddite. But apparently some people use S3 for some things, and some people want it to back up to S3. So now if you select destination here on automated backups, S3, then your backups will be sent to an S3 bucket. What's almost done, but not quite, is a password. So we're working on that. Gerard is working on that right now. A password for backups, so they can be encrypted by themselves. I know that these various solutions are for encryption, but I thought, sometimes you just want, another layer of encryption, whatever. So you will probably at some point next week be able to enter a backup password. Right. So I'm not going to show you because I don't have a bucket. But if you have a bucket, you can test it. Somebody's using it, and apparently it works very well. And we're also we're not using it. That person is not using it on S3. He's using it on some S3 compatible service from Hetzner. Okay, great. Thank you, Gerard. So now 3 things that I've been working on. So I'm leaving the big one, which is agents, until the end. But I'm just going to show you something quickly. So if I just go to my table here. Okay, so here, this is one that's got it already. So previously, there was no container element when you were editing a list. Now there is a container element. And you also could not drag more than one element into a column. That is now also not the case. You can drag 2 elements in. As you can see, in fact, in this one, this column has 2 containers. That's all. Directly inside this column is 2 containers, and they both have showIf links. One is shown if this variable, this field long, is true, and this is shown if long is not true. This is directly the long field, and here that is that column, so it's showing long when long is true, short when short is true. Great. So this is actually surprisingly useful. So we just had, I forgot to say, we have a new video coming out. We have a new video on mobile building that takes you through step from the beginning to the end, how to build a mobile application, and a lot of the details about syncing and how do you deal with offline. But one of the things is, this is a video that Christian has made, and in that he had to embed a show view inside the list, which is fine. That solved that problem for him. He actually embedded a show view into the list that had 2 containers exactly like this. One of them had a button and the other one didn't. Which is fine. It's just we're trying in Saltcorn. Usually the number of views that you have just totally explodes. It's just like total explosion of number of views, right? So even in my test application here, we now have tons and tons of views. And just helps you keep the number of views short, to be honest. And then, of course, having the showIf formula on the container directly in the list, again, just helping. There's probably nothing that you couldn't build before. that you can build now. It's just a little bit more intuitive. I looked at some design blogs and stuff, and they had on how to format lists and tables. And some of them had something really nice where you could, if you have an address, it actually looks really nice if you're able to do like the address not just a single line but over multiple lines. That can look quite nice, and that's something you can do now, right? So you can put like two fields, and you can put a new line between them if you want to do an address. So there you go, a little bit more flexibility for the containers in lists. The second thing, again, something that just saves entities, is, can I show you this anywhere? Okay, so let's see. So this is about aggregation formula. So what are our inbound keys? Patients have a favorite book. I remember this now. So now, if I have this list of books, if I wanted to say, okay, let's just start easy here. Okay, let's just say I want to link to a view. Okay, I want to link to the list of patients. And this is the patients that have that book as their favorite. So then that's all out here. Okay, but what if I wanted, and I can also, of course, I can show an aggregation, which is the number of patients that have that book as their favorite. Mike says whoopee to that one. I don't know which one you're referring to now, but I'm glad you're happy, Mike. And okay, so favorite book. Okay, so now here we're saying okay, so here we're now saying how many patients. Okay, so now I've got the count, and then I've got the link. Now that looks silly, right? Of course we should have that number inside the label here, right? So it should just say number of patients, but you couldn't actually do that before. You could do it. You had to build a stored aggregated field inside, add another field to the book table. Thanks, Mike. Mike is very happy about containers in the list. It wasn't actually that hard to build, and I think it makes a difference. Anyways, okay, so previously, to get that number into the list of patients, you had to basically create another field, and also stored aggregated field, stored a calculated field that's an aggregation. And the problem, I spent so much time like making sure that those were up to date, and I think there's still a risk probably that those are out of date. So that because they're stored, and therefore they may not be stale, saying, right? Okay, so now instead you can do these as an aggregation formula. So here, say a label. Okay, so let's just see, what do we want? So I have a number, and let's just try like what we want, right? So we want something like patients. Okay, so I'm looking for something like this, but with the right number. So the formula, and we do have a link here. It's like a, okay. I was looking for where to put the documentation, and I couldn't find anywhere. So it went in the changelog, which is not the best place to put documentation. Where's the changelog? Sorry, I clicked the wrong button. It happens all the time. Nothing to worry about if that happens to you. Where's the changelog? The changelog is here. So the documentation is here. It's not the best place to put it. So I need to figure out where to put the documentation. I guess it should be here. Maybe this should be a little bit better. Anyways, so now what you have to type. So you have to type. So it is in this changelog, right? So you have to type with $signs. Now this is cheating because I've already done it exactly for this table in the changelog. So, but should I make myself suffer and type it out? Okay, and look, I will admit it's not exactly easy, but with some documentation, I think we can do it. So you do, the first is the name of the table that has an inbound key, right? So if we're just looking at this table here, that's this table, right? That has an inbound key, and that inbound key, that variable name, you want that next. And then after that is the target field of the aggregation. And if we're just going to count, we're going to do ID. You could count anything actually, but ID is always there. And then you need what is the actual aggregation. So we're counting. So now, does this work? Hey, 0 patients, 2 patients. Why is that only 1? Probably because there's some funny... I don't know why this is 1, 2 books. Okay. I don't know why I'm only seeing 1 when it says I should see 2, but there must be some kind of... something is going on here. I can't see. Usually things get messed up by... I don't know why that is. I need to look that up. I hope it's not a bug. That's putting a dampener on my mood. But where were we? We were here. I don't know why I'm only seeing 1 row here. I should be seeing 2 rows, but okay, I need to look at that. But this is correct, right? So we've got that number here. Did I pick the wrong relation? Okay, let's see. Yes. Okay, there we go. I picked the wrong relation. I think sometimes the default relation is not the simplest one, so always check which relation you're picking. Is it displaying the patient ID? Rather, no, it is not. It is for sure not. Which was that patient? Okay, that's book 2. Wait, which book is that? Okay, I'm going to prove now to Hot Rock that this is correct. Okay, so this is, we want Leo Tolstoy, we want another Leo Tolstoy fan. Where was it? There we go. Yeah, name. Who should we have? What's the name of that guy? Okay, we'll do Matt Damon. I was looking for the name of someone else. Who was the guy I was looking for? The guy in Titanic. I can't remember what he's called now. Doesn't matter. Okay, no parents. Okay, so we got another reader of Tolstoy. Now we've got 3 patients, and there you go, 1, 2, 3. Okay, great. Leonardo DiCaprio was the name I was looking for, but it's probably good that I didn't type that because I wouldn't be able to spell it. Maybe, I don't know, doesn't matter. Okay, aggregation. Okay, so we've got 12 minutes left, and that gives me 12 minutes to talk about agents. Agents are interesting. Okay, so look, there's been a lot of talk about AI agents, and agents is moving from a view of using AI where you are telling the AI what to do as a programmer to a view where you are giving the AI a bunch of capabilities, and then you're giving it a prompt, and then you are just with that prompt that tell the AI decides what to do. It decides out of the capabilities that it has, it decides what actions it should take, and it can do this over and over again. So we did have this thing called the user copilot, and that was an important intermediate step that allowed you to set a system prompt, some tables that you gave the AI the ability to look into, and some actions that you promoted to tools that the LLM could call. And so you could type, I hope this is working, what is the word of the day? Okay, all right. User Copilot is broken. I need to fix that. But it did. Oh, I know why this is broken. Because it is not. We have a new option here. So there's basically OpenAI has released a new API style, and we needed to use that for some of the things in the agents, in particular around image generation. So if we turn this off, hopefully, maybe, I can ask it what the word of the day is. There you go. The word of the day is strawberry, and that goes back to the LLM, and it's sort of, so this is, no. This is just an action that I wrote, right? So I wrote an action called word of the day, and it's just returning strawberry. So that's the word of the day, always. Okay, so the user copilot was an important step into that, but it was limited in its extensibility. You were only able to promote actions and tables and to set the system prompt, and there's more to agents than that, and as such it was an incomplete agent implementation, but it was a little bit of an agent. Now we have a new view, but the view is just a wrapper, and the real agent is done in an, let's close some of these. Oh wait, and now I need to change it back to the response API in a bit when I show you some of the cooler stuff. So let's just leave that there. Okay, so an agent is basically an action, and that means you don't have to interact with it in a view. You can also link it up to an API call. You can run it on insertion of a row into a database. You can run an agent, so it's a lot more flexible. It doesn't have to be driven by the UI. Okay, so that's the first difference. So the major configuration is in this action configuration, and this is just like UI stuff, and whether you can upload images as well. Okay, so the agent action has a system prompt, which is the base. I tried different things. Should we try something new? What should we speak like? Speak like I don't know, a Victorian gentleman. Okay, that's just your instructions, right? You can be other stuff. You can say like, you are helpful, blah blah blah, but you can just do that. Okay, so in addition to this base system prompt, the agent has an above skills, and a skill is an abstraction. A skill can be a tool, so a skill can provide tools. Okay, so a skill is what agents are made up of, and a skill is it's like a bit of code, right? That can do a couple of things. It can change the system prompt. It can, let me switch me off so you can see all of that. It can change the system prompt. It can, but it can do so in response to its configuration. In fact, here's one skill that doesn't provide a tool that the agent can run. It just preloads data into the prompt. So here I'm looking into the users table, I'm getting the current user, and then I'm saying this is the user you're talking to. I could probably merge these two fields. So, and we can hide things as well. So you can take data and you can put it into the prompt, essentially. So, but that data is dynamic, right? It can come from the users table, or it can come from some other table. So you can load, like if you have some very important information, it can be dynamic and come from the database table, and therefore also modified by users. It's very powerful. Another skill type is that we can just take a trigger. So these are the skills, right? So I should write skills here on top. So you basically enable a certain number of skills, and those are of a type, and that type is this bunch of options here, right? So trigger is one. That means that I'm promoting an action in Saltcorn to a tool. That now becomes a tool that the AI can call if it deems that that is what the user wants. Table, these three are actually very similar. Retrieval by full text search, they're all an evolution of each other. Table is the most advanced. I can link now a table, and that means that we can query on that table, and also it can insert into the table. And you can see data. Not sure what I should show. I actually feel more like showing some of the image stuff, so I'll probably focus on that. Okay, so we can generate images, and also if we are here, we can upload images. So for image generation, you really need this response API. So in the OpenAI API, you just can't do this with the old API, the standard OpenAI API, which really annoyed me actually. I don't know why they couldn't just have let me generate images, because now I've had to switch, had this option. We now have two different APIs we're interfacing with, and it's all a big pain. And like just synchronizing message formats across the two different APIs is a major pain. I'm complaining. Okay, so we can generate images. So let's generate some images. I'm gonna leave. No, I'm not gonna. Okay, I'll make them medium. Let's make them auto. And save file. And okay, so let's just run this. So let's run this agent. Okay, so first of all, now you have something you can talk to, right? So you can ask questions. And I probably messed it up now, but let's see. What is 2 plus 2? Okay, so it's talking like a Victorian gentleman. It knows who I am because that data we had that preload data skill, and that's inserted things into the prompt. And it is saying that 2 plus 2 equals 4. Okay, what else can I do? What is the word of the day? And let's see why that's thinking. Let's see, do I have a album? Oh, I had that album thing before. Let's do that. Okay, while I was fiddling around with the view, it figured out that the word of the day was strawberry, and our Victorian gentleman is making some suitable commentary on that. Okay, so let's see now. Let's save that, and let's do the images. I don't know how to get rid of that. Okay, let's do the images. So, because the images are a lot of fun. So I can upload images. Wait, do I actually want to do this? Actually, I'm just thinking that maybe I don't want to do this live because I'll be showing my... just hang on a second. Let me just try and do this over here. I don't really want to show you what all my files are. I can't remember what's there, and I'd be suspicious of what comes up here. I'm sorry, I just need to check that this is all like this, some user data and stuff like that. Okay, I think I can probably get rid of this. I can probably do this. All right, I'll take the risk of not showing too much private information. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so let's start a new chat. Okay, so let's see. Let's upload an image. Okay. Let's just do this TV test card. This was the one I used for my thumbnail for YouTube. Okay, this is a TV test card. Okay, so now it's uploading and it is reading the file. And now this is indeed a TV test card. Okay, so now because I've enabled image generation, I can say generate an image of a frog that has this TV test card. Should be a frog? Is there anything else that we can think about that as its skin? I don't know if that makes sense. Maybe that's me. While that's thinking about it, I'm just going to see what people have been writing. I wonder about... Oh no, what's going on here? I wonder about AI components generation. First of all, more components in the library and then manually how to really, with nuances, practically do it yourself. Front end is slightly underrated, please. Well, yeah, I agree. I mean, let me know if you resolve those questions. Yeah, I mean, look, I agree. The front end is definitely underrated. We can do better. Nicola, hi. Kudos to the components manual and the AI components generation request. All right, let me know. I don't know if you're typing, but if you are, then just let me know. Okay, so it generated a picture of a frog with the TV test card as its skin. So look, this is where you can upload images, you can ask it to make changes, and now here you have an image that you can save. I don't know if we need to do something where we can save it to a some kind of table or something like that. I think it looks quite nice actually. Maybe I should put that somewhere. Right, so look, lots of possibilities here. What else did we have? We had this we have this albums. I can't remember what's in this albums table, so maybe I can quickly show that it can query these. So we can say we can do different things here with the table. List all the albums. So, that's not working. It's one of the things that's broken. I think that's again broken because of the response API. So I need to sort that out. Is it worth it trying to turn that off? It's also possible it's just plain broken. Let's try it again. I know why this is. This is because actually we need to do something about this. You need to turn off because the what was it? It basically doesn't work if you have the image generation and if you're not using the responses API. So let's try again. No, okay, I've permanently broken it somehow. So I need to fix that. But you can in principle connect it to tables, but I'm getting the wrong format. So look, that is it for the agents. I clearly have a couple of issues there need to sort out. I think we need to make it sort of more adaptive, so it always tries to work, mostly if it's whether the responses API is working or not. And then I need to fix this connection to the table that is not working. Okay, we have a request here. I mean, I agree with the person that pointed the need for manuals on the UI component development. Saltcorn is awesome, by the way. Thank you, Nicola. Yeah, no, we definitely need some better documentation and do the to sort of build some UI elements. Okay, if there are no further questions, then I will adjourn to my weekend. And thank you for joining us. Good to see some new people here, and good to see some people who have been here before. And have a good weekend. And I will now fix all of the problems that I found during this live stream. Thank you.